Zayed Farid. Born in 1948, writer Zayed Farid's early life was consumed by the nature of riverine Bangladesh. With his father a science teacher, he passed a decade at Jessore where his juvenile mind was impressioned by the national artist S M Sultan, saints and folk singers. Though an architect, he works as a technical curator in a museum of Riyadh. Even staying abroad, he maintained passionate connections with homeland, wrote poems, short stories, scientific articles, and edited the writer's literary magazine. Altogether, 20 books of Zayed have been published. His books on plant science, Udbhid-Swobhab, Plant Natures Part 1-2, brought him the Bangla Academy Science Award in 2017. Let his pathway of work as a literateur and science communicator be well paved. Beside the railway line. As she opened the window, the sevenfold muslin of the fog wrapped her eyes. Rubbing the eyes with her two hands, she tried to remove the curtain, but every time she attempted the curtain enmeshed her anew. Holding the crutch, Sharon came and stood on the open veranda. The days of fog in her eyes. Resting upon the crutch, she proceeded slowly. Flakes of white sunlight are being sprayed upon the canvas of grass. Through the chinks of foliage, Sharon looked towards the other side of the wall. A high sloping land. Some pebbles have rolled down at random. She does not remember ever having seen such beauty of hilly landscape. Sharon went ahead, pushing aside the bunches of leaves with her two hands. She ascended laboriously by balancing herself upon the crutch dug into the earth. After drawing a deep breath, she uttered in a muffled tone, "OU rail tracks." After laying down the crutch upon the rail tracks, she bent down too low. A rusted steel plate in her waist, her frozen body has collected countless dewdrops, just as they collect everywhere. In contact with nature, even the steel plate has somehow become nature-sensitive. Daubing the end of her forefinger with the ink of dew, Sharon wrote down unconsciously a few words. "Will you not return?" A trundling sound coming from a distance floated up to her hearing. The face of a train was seen at the bend of coconut and betelnut trees, softly rousing nature out of its sleepiness. Sharon stood at the bottom of the slope. Turning its wheels slowly, a local train ran past towards a nearby station. Hearing voices from beyond the thicket of leaves, Sharon looked back, startled. "It's amazing. Oh, Dad, you never said the rail tracks are so near." "Everything is not to be said. You have a strong attachment for the rail tracks since childhood. That's why I didn't say. Are you not delighted making this pleasant discovery after laboriously walking through the thick fog?" "I want to come here often, child." "Do come. But do I know for sure why the rail tracks draws you so close?" "Perhaps you don't. But what's the point in knowing, child? It's you who said that in ignorance resides some kind of a joy of creativity. The tree which is enveloped by fog, I feel no urge to ascertain its name. That is just my favorite fog tree." "Fog tree. You were her daughter. The daughter of a mother. But how at this time you are my, let's go back. I will have to go to the college today for submitting the joining letter. On the way falls your women's college. You can come along. And I want to discover for myself your fog tree." The local train shuttles twice a day. It leaves in the morning and comes back in the evening. For the convenience of the male and female students, the railway authorities have synchronized the train's timing with the timing of the college. When it is time for the train to return, Sharon keeps standing by the befogged thicket. The bunches of leaves sway in the wind off the train. Hairs fly in the heaving wind. They fly back to the question-filled childhood, in the reverse direction. Between the two stations, only 4 miles apart, the train runs at a slow speed, under a set rule. Among regular passengers, a few are able to identify her within a few days. Sharon can identify none. She doesn't look at the train's window, she keeps her eyes fixed only on the revolving wheels, like someone possessed. One afternoon the train halted beside the foggy clump. On that day in her imagination, no bird or hare flew. Leaves did not sway in the gusts of wind. Only her inside swayed. Some among the passengers disembarked and looked at her piteously with eyes fixed. Sharon prepared to return. Just then a boy from the rear carriage came walking near her. She did not look at him for a moment. Listlessly she tried to tear from the foggy clump a bunch of violet flowers. The train left, but she showed no sign of embarking. Sharon was going back. As she was walking, she looked back for a moment. Matching every step with her pace of walking, the boy too was walking along the same foot track. The eerie shadow of evening was spreading all around in the fragrance exuded by the bunch of violet flowers in her hand. Sharon stopped to face truth. The boy did not stop. She gripped her crutch with both hands. The boy walked past her in easy steps. When she came near her home, he called the boy. Listen. Pierced by the word, the boy stopped. Sharon asked, why you didn't get into the train? To locate your house. Why do you have to locate it? My mother told me. What was your mother's compulsion? I have no idea. I didn't ask. But mother knows you. How does she know me? I told her about you. What did you tell? On my way back from college, I often see from the window you are standing beside the thicket with your crutch. Standing with a crutch. Why does your mother have so much interest in a sick young woman? You are not sick. My mother is slightly sick. She writes stories, lives by writing stories. That may be the reason. Look, I can't become a victim of your mother's story writing. Tell her that. That I will tell. Your father is my revered teacher. Please don't tell all this to Sir. I have no idea why she made such a request. But you are her very loyal son. For this reason her request shall be honored. The time of the train is long over. Waiting eagerly are the countless sleepers, pebbles and leaves of the swallowwort bushes. Sharon feels uneasy. Such a thing does not happen. She was looking at the bend of betel nut orchard waiting. A boy came to her walking along the side of the rail tracks in swift strides. He came and stood by her. Today the train won't come. There is. Shut down. Sharon felt annoyed. You have come all the way to deliver this news? Not exactly. I came in obedience to my mother. The other day I gave you a wrong bit of information. That must be corrected. Mother is not writing any story on you. Her interest in you is for a different reason. What's that reason? A certain young woman had written upon the rail tracks a question of her life. I heard this from Sir and told it to Mother. She thinks you must have written that. Father narrated this in the class? Don't be cross with your father, please. And don't break your promise by relating these things to him. Firstly, he may not have meant you. Secondly, he meant someone whom he loves very much. Look, I assume that you are speaking the truth and giving generous advice, but I am tired. I shall be happy if you don't maintain any contact with me. The boy uttered not a single word more. He proceeded along the side of rail tracks over the sleepers in long strides. His eyes riveted upon the steel rails. The local train runs in the morning and evening, crushing under its wheels many absurdities of nature, many playful lines written in dew. Sharon was not disenchanted from the train, but she retreated a few steps. Without crossing the wall of fire, she stood on this side. On that day, from the last carriage of the train, a large ball of newspaper sheet came rolling and rested under the fog tree. The ball bore a writing done with pen. Sharon guessed that the boy must have produced some new ridicule, and sent it to her at the instance of his mother. She shrank in disgust. Over the ribs of her consciousness ran countless metallic wheels. Her breathing was being choked. The paper ball lay at the foot of the swallowwort thicket, and was getting flattened day by day. One morning it rained heavily. Sharon set out in slow steps. Crossing the mud and slush beside the rail tracks, she searched for the ball of paper. The ball is half buried in mud with the foggy leaves. Sharon tenderly retrieved it, cleared the mud. Baking it with the fire of hair, she unfolded it upon the table. With a deeply probing mind she went on deciphering. I am sorry for resorting to the theatricality of rolling down the ball of paper. After the train accident, the woman writer was in the mental hospital for a long time. After recovering for understandable reason, she could not return to her old household. She is not my mother, rather she is yours. As you will come in search of your mother, I am saying goodbye. Her address is given below. The part containing the address is torn away. In search of that missing scrap at daybreak, Sharon sets out on her crutch towards the foggy thicket. Translated from Bengali by Zakaria Shirazi.